Order the Board of Commissioners meeting for Douglas County, Nebraska for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Please note that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the Legislative Chamber alongside an automatic external defibrillator. Please stand for the pledge. First item of business is the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson is absent. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Fahey is absent. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Here. First, we have items A and B. A being the approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. B, a call for a meeting and set Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 as date for a hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have three protest items, starting with C, a protest of 25% penalty for personal property taxes for Apostolic Life Center at 4001 South 42nd Street, and Assessor Goodwillie.
Good morning, Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. Let me say a couple of things that are appropriate to all three of the next three agenda items. First, for business personal property, if it's depreciable property that a business would use in the generation of income and depreciate on their income tax return, it is subject to Nebraska personal property tax. Every entity not exempt needs to file a return. When we discover new businesses, we send them sort of an introductory letter saying, in case you didn't know, this return is due, and it's due on May 1st, okay? Business personal property is self-reported. If somebody files a late return or does not file a return, the assessor is authorized to create estimate assessments that estimate what the return would have been if somebody had filed. There is also a late filing penalty that is mandatory under 77-1233.04. After July 1st, property added either through an estimate assessment or a personal property late filed return represents 25% of the taxes due. Not the value reported, but the taxes due. Sort of that value is you multiply it by the tax rate, and then you multiply that tax by another 25% to get the penalty amount. There is some ability to protest penalties, but very limited in terms of the relief the board can provide. The relief is limited to penalties that are wrongly applied, meaning either they filed late or they didn't file late, and maybe you get in an argument about the postmark date or when somebody filed something. Or if it was incorrectly calculated, that calculation gets made in December at the time of billing, okay? The goal of estimate assessments, which is how all three of these things started, is to get people to file a return, and if they do, we use the value that they report on their return, okay? So let's start with the Apostolic Center. They're a new entity in that location basically they're in the Center Mall. We sent them a new business letter on March 17th requesting that they file something, right, by May 1st. The pastor reached out to us by email on March 27th saying, well, gee, we're a church, shouldn't we be exempt? And the manager of our business personal property homestead section responded that same day by saying, yeah, you can be exempt, but you need to file a property tax exemption form 451. To date, we have not gotten one. The time to file that application expired on June 30th. So therefore, the property becomes taxable. We sent them an estimate assessment, and they filed their protest, I reached out to them and explained kind of the process and suggested that they get with our business personal property section to ascertain what property they really have and what its net book value is. Because often, especially with small businesses, because of the depreciation of that personal property, the net book may be less than the estimate assessment, but to date, we've not gotten anything from them, either an exemption application or a personal property return. I would point out, I think the estimate assessment was for $10,000 in value. If you multiply that by a 2% tax rate, and then you apply a 25% of the tax penalty, they're in about the same place they would be had they actually filed their exemption application late, because for each month you're after December 31st, there's a late filing penalty. And I haven't done the math, but they would have been, if we talked to them in late March, they probably would have filed, had they been diligent, they would have filed in early April, and that's 4 months late. And yeah, they are in about the same place. I'm not sure what to do to folks, or with folks, where you reach out to them and you tell them what they need to do, and then they don't do it. So that's where that one is. They haven't filed, so under the terms of 77-12-33-04, the penalty is mandatory, and the board's ability to do anything about the penalty is limited to incorrectly applied or wrongly calculated. They still haven't filed a return, so clearly they're after the May 1st deadline. Do you want me to go through the next ones?
Yeah,
or
go
do you want
ahead.
to deal with this one first?
Are they similar or different?
Yeah, kind of. The next one, the Aquitas business has kind of worked itself out. These folks actually did file a return after they got their estimate assessment. The return reported $1,964 in value at a 2% rate, and with the 25% penalty, I think the tax would be approximately $39.28, and the penalty is about $9.82. So they're looking at an outlay of $49. When I sent an email to the business owner, walking him through that calculation, his response was, "Thank you for the explanation, makes sense. Where can I pay the tax?" So I think the need for this protest kind of goes away. And then the last one, Bauer built, I think. This protest had an odd spin on the statutory section dealing with a board's ability to waive penalties or forgive penalties. In his protest, he claimed there was some mechanism for a board to do that if the late filing penalty was not willful. Can I get this turned on a minute? Upside down or which way?
I'm not sure. Let's see. Bring it up.
There we go. All right, can we focus in on paragraph number 3? The action of this is 77-12-33-06. This is the section that deals with penalties. Subsection 3 talks about the action of the county board being limited to correcting penalties which were wrongly imposed or incorrectly calculated. There is no dispute that Bauer Built filed late. In fact, they did file a return that was for somewhat less than the estimate assessment, but there is no language here about the ability to waive a penalty if the taxpayer says, well, we weren't willfully late. I suspect that's because everybody would say, well, this wasn't willful. Nobody's going to get up and say in the face of a penalty, oh yeah, to hell with you, I didn't want to file the return. So in any event, with respect to Bauer, their argument is, well, we had some sort of a bookkeeping or administrative problem. They did file the return. The estimate assessment was $183,707 because they have 3 different accounts. A lot of businesses will do that. They'll have different portions of their business set up as separate accounts. What they filed with us, give me a second. No, I apologize. What they filed with us was $183,707 in personal property value. That represents about $36.74 in taxes, and the penalty is a quarter of that, or $918. But yes, they filed, I think they filed with us in September. So they're all the same in the sense that they were not timely filed. Two of them, Aquitas and Bauer, filed a return, and we're using their numbers. The first one, the Apostolic Center, we tried to get them squared away, and we just didn't get anything from them. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwillie. Before I get to the commissioners, is there anybody from these properties that wanted to speak on their own behalf for items C, D, or E? Or anybody from the public in general that has a tie to these businesses or nonprofits? Otherwise, let me get to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And thanks for this. The Apostolic Church one is in, you said the
Center Mall.
the Center Mall. One question. They're a renter in the Center Mall, are they?
Sure,
not?
but they own the personal property.
Right.
So they own the sound. What they've told us as part of their protest, they said they have about $15,000 worth of personal property on site in the form of sound equipment and computers and the other accoutrements to having their services there. And it's in their protest someplace.
So what kind of money are we talking here?
Well, 2%. Actually, since they haven't filed anything, if we operate under the estimate assessment of $10,000, 2% of that is what, $200? And then the penalty is a quarter of that. So basically, they'd be out $250,
Okay.
which is comparable to what they would have paid in late filing fees had they filed the application 3 or 4 months late.
Okay. And in looking through here, I mean, there has been some documentation back and forth, right?
Sure.
Is it-
Well, attached to their protest, they added, I think, some sort of sales tax certificate that they're exempt from Nebraska sales tax. And
Right.
I think they made reference to their 501c3 status.
Right.
But our Supreme Court has said on numerous occasions that merely being a 501c3 exempt organization doesn't touch the property tax issues.
Okay.
So it's not, I have this certificate and now all these other programs can't possibly attach to me.
Right.
There is an application process they need to go through for their real or personal property.
So just walk me through this.
Sure.
The exempt organization certificate of exemption does not qualify, is what you're saying. That's the state document.
That's the state sales tax, I think, is what they're
Okay.
talking
And they
about.
submitted that.
Well,
then-
only with their protest. They didn't give any of that stuff to us in the early part of this year.
But you have it.
Sure.
And then the real property valuation protest, it came with that, apparently.
No, there's no real property protest. This is on their business personal property.
Okay.
But yes, it all came in with the protest.
Then you sent them a notice on September 5th of failure to file, right?
No, let me walk you through. In March, we sent them a new business letter putting them on notice that they needed to file something with us, whether it was an exemption application or a business personal property return. Time passes, we get nothing. September 5th, we sent them the estimate assessment that you're talking about, and then they subsequently filed the protest. So you've just got the estimate assessment and the protest filing in the wrong order.
Well, I'm just going by the dates here. I mean, the
Okay.
date of this notice of failure is September 5th. That's from you to them.
Well, yes, that's right. And they filed the protest after that.
Okay. So are we giving them an opportunity? Is that today to make their protest? Is that?
Yes,
this?
that's today.
Okay.
That's what they filed.
And you've spoken with them?
Emailed back and forth, yeah.
Okay.
And my suggestion to them was to get with our business personal property section about the net book value of their property.
Yeah. and-
Because often, when people talk about how much value they have, they talk about what they spent for it, but over time, it can depreciate. And so, I don't know what they have.
Right.
But to date, they've not gotten hold of our staff on that.
So we're out of time here, but I want to come back.
All right. Go ahead and take a second round, Commissioner.
Okay. So we've been down this road before with little churches and, they don't have a lot of administrative staff and stuff. And in light of the fact that, they did respond, that it's very possible, we've seen this before, that it just fell through the cracks or whoever is the apostolic church center. Okay.
I might tend to agree with you, except on the 27th, we responded directly to the minister that filed the protest. So the idea that he didn't know that he should file his exemption application, this isn't like something that got lost in the mail or a secretary put on
I'm sorry,
a
you
shelf.
said the 22nd of this
The
month?
27th of March.
Oh, the 27th of March.
We
I
told
understand.
him he needed to file
I'm talking about
his exemption
September.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about September, and the last thing that we sent them on September 5th, just a
Yep.
few weeks ago, and they haven't gotten their affairs in order between September 5th and now, or we wouldn't be here.
Well, they got together enough to file a protest.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, and there hasn't been any direct face-to-face communication with these folks, is that correct?
I reached out to the pastor by email to walk him through the
Right,
process, yeah.
But that's not, what I'm talking about. I'm talking about direct. What I'm saying is, in order to, give them the same kind of consideration we've given to other small churches that don't have very much administrative staff, it might be equitable to just lay this matter over and allow somebody from your office to directly speak with these people and say, okay, here's where we are, and you're right on the brink of getting slammed with this deal. Do you want to do something or not? And then come back in a week or two or whatever and say, yes, they responded and we've worked this out, or no, they haven't responded, or they told us, we're not going to do this. I would feel better about that.
I'm okay with that, but I would point a couple of things out. Okay, first, they're out of time for 25 for their exemption application. I mean, that door shut on the 30th of June, statutorily. And the second thing is, not to be cynical about this, but if their pastor was accurate, that the net book value of their property at that location that they own is $15,000, they're actually money ahead by paying the penalty assessment,
How's that?
because we only estimated them at 10.
Okay.
Not to be cynical and engage
No,
in
I-
some game
I
theory here, but
appreciate what you're
we
saying.
always, when we send these estimate assessments out, we're not trying to pile on. We want the number to be significant enough that it gets somebody's attention and they actually file.
Right.
And so we're always a little bit nervous when we send an estimate assessment out and don't hear anything back.
Right.
Because if a business bought a bunch of personal property since the last time they filed, and we're basing our estimate assessment on kind of what we think the depreciated value was of their property based on their last filing, and we send them an estimate assessment at that level, and it doesn't reflect what they bought, and we hear nothing back, it's like,
I totally understand that.
okay, you see where I'm getting at?
I'm a little sensitive to this. This is, I think, right on the border between Commissioner Garcia's district and my district. And so, for that purpose, I have more than, the average interest in
No,
this.
if you want to lay it over, I'll go back to the office and I'll have one of our staffers give this guy a call this morning.
That would be so great. Okay. I would make that motion. Just for, what, a week or two?
Let's give it 2, just because their track record administratively has been sketchy at best.
I understand. And I'm over there on a regular basis on other things. I might drop in and see what kind of an operation this is. But I'd feel better
All right.
if you did that.
There's a motion on the table to table the letter C. Hold on, I got to get the motion first, Commissioner Morgan. To table item C for 2 weeks and then bring it back to the board at that point. Is there a second for that motion? Second by Rogers. Additional commentary, Commissioner Morgan?
Mr. Goodwillie, did you say you did call him?
I didn't call him, I emailed him. I don't think I had a phone number, but I had an email address on his.
Did you call one of the other ones? I thought you said that you tried to reach out.
I had email discussions with the second one, Aquitas.
Yeah,
I walked him through the process where I took the number that he filed on his personal return, multiplied it by a 2% tax rate, and then calculated a penalty from there. And I sent that to him, and his reply was, "Thanks, makes sense. Where do I pay?" So I think that protest probably can be dismissed because, he's cool with the number. And then the person from Bauer Built,
right.
I sent him an email walking him through how the process works. And candidly, I asked him, I said, you've quoted some language out of the statutory abatement statute that I don't think is there. Can you point me to why you did that? And I did that about a week and a half ago. To date, I've not yet gotten a response.
Well, it seems to me you made a good effort, and I'm not sure if this motion just affects the first one, is the only one.
Yes, I think that was the intent.
And I think we, could add to this that we support your other, maybe add that to it if the person that made the motion, Commissioner Kavanaugh, and Commissioner Chris Rogers accepted it. I think you made a good effort, and your recommendation is to extend the first one a couple weeks. I'd support that idea and leave the other two because he did make a good effort. And I appreciate, Mr. Goodwillie, your office making those kind of efforts.
We always try and make the effort, but the question really is, were they late or weren't they late? And so what we always do try and do is get them clear on. A lot of people think the 25% penalty means 25% of the value reported, and that's not quite the case. It's 25% of the 2% tax.
Right.
So often when we point that out, there's sort of the consternation of having to pay the penalty, but relief that it isn't as ginormous as they thought it might be at first.
And as I recall reading something about this statute, every single business has to file this.
Yeah, and sometimes
The personal property.
yes, and even if it's a zero return, even if it's
Right.
everything's fully depreciated, we want them in the system because eventually they're going to add something for most businesses.
Right.
One of the issues we always have in this program is neither Douglas County nor the city of Omaha have any sort of an omnibus business license that somebody gets before they open, right? And if you had something like that, you could kind of smash that annually against the list of filers you have, and that would tell you who the new people are that you need to reach out to say, you need to file a return. We don't have that, so instead, we find things through the newspaper, we find things through the Daily Record, we find things through even having staff out and kind of driving around in more commercial areas of town.
And usually the accounting firm that's doing your taxes does the filing of it.
Well, you would hope so, sure.
Yeah.
And for a lot of businesses, that's the case. I think that's why the deadline is May 1st as opposed to some other date.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Morgan, just to be clear, you were suggesting amending the motion to still table C for 2 weeks, but formally decline D and E.
Yes.
Right.
Follow the request of Mr.
Yeah.
Goodwillie.
No, because I think the motion just suggests C, if you just leave it alone, you can
Yeah, and they'd have the 2 weeks.
Yeah, lay it over for 2 weeks.
just see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
then maybe we
If you
should,
leave it alone, you can have it.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
just
we
vote on
should-
C real quick, and then we'll handle D and E. Yep.
right, okay.
So this is just for C, table it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Motion passes 5-0.
In regards to D and E, Commissioner Morgan, do you have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we support the recommendation of Mr. Goodwillie in the assessor's office on the other two to move ahead with the appropriate action.
Which, just to be clear, is to decline the protest. Okay. That's the motion by Commissioner Morgan. There's a second by Rogers. Additional commentary by public or commissioners? If not, we'll vote.
One moment, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, that moves us towards our resolutions for Board of Equalization, which are items F, G, and H. Do we have a motion and a second to take them together?
Second.
Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan for our resolutions. Anybody from the public that came to speak on F, G, or H? If not, any comment from commissioners? Okay, let's vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We have one final protest, item I, protest of 25% penalty for personal property taxes for Rower Brothers. And Mr. Goodwill, were you going to speak on this one too? I'm not sure why they were separated, but there's probably a good reason.
No, this is the same kind of thing. We worked with them last year quite extensively to get them to file. And then this year they didn't. And so it's sort of the same as these others.
Okay. So they missed the deadline and all that.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody from the public that came to speak on behalf of Rower Brothers LLC? All right. Additional commentary by commissioners or proposed action?
Second.
All right. Motion to approve the recommendation, which is technically to decline the protest, right? So there's a motion by Rogers, second by Morgan.
Mr. Chair, do we want this to include adjournment?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioners Rogers and Kavanaugh. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That adjourns Board of Equalization. We'll now jump into Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson is absent. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Fahey's absent. Commissioner Friend. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Here. And just for the record, Commissioner Borgeson and Fahey did let me know ahead of time that they had a personal conflict and also an illness that prevented them from being here, respectively. So, quick note of that. Excuse me? I'm making a note of it. There's not a formal action that goes with it. Items I, A, and B. A being approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, September 16, 2025, and B being approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion by Morgan, second by Rogers. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda, items A through L. Do I have a motion and second for discussion?
Second.
Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. We are now on consent agenda, items A through L. Any comments or questions on consent agenda? If none, we'll vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our recognitions and proclamations. We have two today, which we could probably take together. The first one is A, recognition of a following county employee who is retiring, which is Freddie Brown, who worked for Douglas County Health Center for 20 years, and also the retirement of Sharon Cerny, who worked for the Douglas County Purchasing Department for 17 years. And I'll get to you, Mr. Clerk, in a second. First, do we have a motion and a second for both? Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. And Mr. Clerk, you had a comment?
Dan Ish, Douglas County Clerk. So Sharon Cerny, her last 2 years with the county, she was in purchasing, but her first 15 years, she was in the clerk's office. So she was an accounts payable auditor, had a stint for like a year, some change in the payroll office. And then in 2023, she applied for an opening in purchasing and got it. But and I saw her in the hallway on her last day, and I meant to go up and go back and talk to her before she clocked out for the day. But I missed the chance. So anyway, she was really a great teammate. I've been pretty lucky over the years to have some really good coworkers in the clerk's office, and she was definitely one of them. So I'm happy for her. She gets to relax more now, and hopefully she's. I haven't talked to her about this in a couple of years, but I know her and her husband had like a cabin near the Platte, I believe. So hopefully she's getting to spend more time there. So. Anyway, just wanted to wish her well and thank her for being such a good coworker over the years.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, we do have a motion and second on the table for both A and B. If no further comment, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Rogers is absent at the moment.
Thank you. That takes us to public hearings. We have one, item A, which is a public hearing for Class 1 license for Heartwood Nail Spa LLC, DBA Heartwood Nail Spa at 248 North 144th Street, Suite 105 in Omaha, Nebraska 68114, with manager application for Amanda Thigh. And I will open the public hearing for this item now. Is there any comments, sir?
Duke Tran 9910 North 48th Street, Suite 103B, Omaha, Nebraska 68152. Appearing on behalf of the applicant and the manager applicant. I'm here to answer any question that you might have.
Very good. Thank you for being here, sir. Any comments or questions from board members or from the public on this item? If none, I will close the public hearing and ask for what is the will of the board.
So moved to approve it.
Motion to approve by Morgan, second by Friend. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thanks again for being here. We'll now jump into our committees. First, we have Finance with budget report as presented. Under Human Resources, we also have our weekly personnel report from Civil Service, also as presented. We do have a need for executive session for the purpose of legal advice. Was that it today, Patrick and Teresa? Yep. Okay. So I'll take a motion for that. Motion by Morgan, second by Rogers to go into executive session. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The board will now go into executive session for the purpose of legal advice. How are you? You look good.
Take care. Motion to reconvene and adjourn by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Friend. Motion passes 5-0. We're adjourned at 10:13 a.m.